Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. It is Monday, October 28th, 3:46 p.m. And folks, it has been a very exciting day in the global capital equity markets. We have a ton of headlines that we have to run through. We got a ton of stuff that happened ever since we were on the market open. And a bunch of stocks are reflecting some of those headlines based on what we saw. Two things I'm looking for after the bell before we get into everything. Number one, can Palantir get the elusive close over $45? We have been hovering over 45 for the past past 5-6 hours, right? As long as the market has been open since the morning. We dipped, I think, to the lowest at 44.70. And then kind of came right back. So the demand seems to be there. The momentum seems to be there to close above 45. Now it's a question of if the market makers will allow the closing over $45. And we'll see what happens in about 14 minutes. That would be the highest close ever for Palantir. Friday was the highest close at 44.70. But this would be nice to see if we can get to 45. And then on a hood, which has had a hell of a day as well, introducing those betting markets, 27.96. We were chilling at 28.20 for a good chunk of the day. Now's the question of can we close above 28 would be very, very important to get that $28 close on hood and 45 for Palantir. So we'll see kind of how that plays out. We've got some other news in the headlines that we're going to start off with, which has to do with NVIDIA and XAI. Ironically, we were talking about XAI in the morning in regards to their new image recognition software. It looks like that's just going to get better and better and better based on the headlines that we got this morning. And then we have earnings after the bell. We have Ford and Waste Management, not the most exciting companies in the world, although Ford is a very big car manufacturer and Waste Management, the waste has to go somewhere in the United States and Waste Management manages all that waste. So those are going to be two important companies we're going to take a look at. Hopefully their earnings are strong and continues the trend of a solid Q3 earnings report that we are into as we're approaching tech earnings seasons. Finally, we got Bitcoin, folks, that's trying to make a run to 70,000. Tesla did sell off. Yes, Tesla's down about 2%, 263. Makes sense. It was up 25% the past couple of days. Probably going to take a breather, and today is that breather for Tesla. Bitcoin right here, 69.6. I think on the market open, it was at like 68.4. So we've had a nice jump since the market open. It touched 69.9, and I feel like it wants to get to 70. The momentum is absolutely there. The question is going to be, if the market lets it get to that 70,000 level. It is only 5.3% away from all-time highs. So it is very close to achieving those levels. And as a result, MicroStrategy, one of the main proxies for Bitcoin, look at this, folks, 258. This was 220 last week. It was 170 the week before. It's at 258. Michael Saylor is pulling off one of the most amazing things in history, whether you agree or disagree with it. But you got MicroStrategy at 258. You got Coinbase that's at 216. And you got CleanSpark. Some of the miners are moving today up 11%. MicroStrategy obviously just having an incredible run right here at 258, $50 billion market cap. And the alpha against their Bitcoin position seems to be getting larger and larger. And the street is rewarding that. So we've got a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. Thank you, everybody, for being here once again. And let's get started with this market close. I think we'll start off with the NVIDIA news. So the big news that I saw this morning, right after the market open, I think it was like an hour after, was XAI is ordering another 100,000 GPUs from NVIDIA. When Jensen says Blackwell demand is like insane, I think this is what we have to interpret from a realistic perspective. Now, this is not for Blackwell. This is for the Hopper GPUs, but still, if you got XAI ordering 100,000 Hopper GPUs, which is the previous model, then I would imagine that Jensen's correct when he's talking about the demand for Blackwell. So right here from the press release, Colossus, the world's largest AI supercomputer, is being used to train XAI's Grok family of LLMs with chatbots offered as a feature for X Premium subscribers. I believe it's like $20 a month. XAI is in the process of doubling the size of Colossus to a combined total of 200,000 NVIDIA Hopper GPUs. In Memphis, Tennessee, a month ago, they had completed the first supercomputer cluster comprising of 100,000 Hopper GPUs. Well, today it looks like they put it in order for another 100,000 of those GPUs. Again, it just seems like the demand for NVIDIA is not slowing down. Eventually it will, or maybe it doesn't, who knows? But logically speaking, or realistically speaking, we will see demand come down. But the question becomes, when is that going to happen? And if that's not happening in 2025 or 2026, but a little bit later down the decade, then you're going to have the street that's going to be pricing in for further growth and a further PE expansion based on the premium that you're attaching to that growth. And that premium is based on NVIDIA being one of the most important companies in the world. On top of that, a lot of people are saying, well, oh, these GPUs are a one-time expense for XAI and then it's done. Once you get it, you build the supercomputer cluster, Grok becomes good, and then you move on. I think those people don't understand what they're talking about. Grok is going to get better and better and better and better. GPT's at GPT-4. Eventually, there's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. GPT-9 cannot be trained on the same architecture that is training GPT-4. Like, it's going to be way too advanced for that to happen, which means NVIDIA is going to have to make new chips. New chips will require new demand. New demand will require OpenAI spending a ton more money on this, which means theoretically that demand for NVIDIA should maintain itself. And that's another reason why Grok in the next 2 years will have to upgrade these chips again. Now, the one pushback that I think is fair about this is that the hyperscalers are trying to mitigate paying the NVIDIA tax, which is why a lot of them are doing their own R&D to build their own chips, which is fair. But so far, none of them have been able to actually, build a competitor to NVIDIA in a meaningful way. Google has been doing it with their TPUs to an extent, but they're going to be paying a lot of money for these chips for what it seems to be like a long time, as long as the demand stays and as long as we keep using Grok and LLMs and all this stuff. And it doesn't look like that demand's going anywhere. So shout out to NVIDIA doing an incredible job, and NVIDIA continuing to maintain its momentum as well. Serve also pumped a little bit today, including Serve, which is a liquid cooling company around GPU. Or no, sorry, Serve is robotics. Serve doesn't do liquid cooling. I'm talking about Vertiv does liquid cooling. Serve is up 22% today, so that's big for Serve Robotics. And then Oklo, I was texting my friend who bought a ton of this thing at $6, and he was just like, dude, this is crazy. I was like, yeah, I would imagine this is kind of crazy. It's up another 27% after being up 140% last week. I asked him if he's selling, and he said no. He said, although it's like stupidly expensive because there's no revenue here, there's a lot of potential. And, one of the things I think the street is betting on right now is potential. I think the street saw the potential of NVIDIA, even though it was kind of late, and they bet all on NVIDIA. NVIDIA goes up like crazy. Then you got Palantir. They're seeing the potential of Palantir. Now Palantir is a $100 billion market cap. I think now the street's like, hey, where are the undiscovered AI opportunities? And the one word that's probably coming to the street's mind is energy. And if energy is the unopened AI opportunity to go long on that doesn't trade at a premium that's high like NVIDIA or Palantir, then maybe the street's just piling a ton of money into some of these bets that might not work out, but the street's willing to bet on them because they need to go long on AI in some capacity. And so, boom, that's that's one of the ways that you get something like Oklo going up about 20%, which is pretty incredible. GameStop's up 9%. I didn't even see that today. GameStop's up 9%. GME. Wow. Yeah, you're right. GameStop is up 9%. I did not see that. I did not see that at all. Matthias says, NVIDIA's on a 1-year new generation release cadence. The classic 3-year cycle of semis is over for now. NVIDIA has set the pace. I agree. It's almost like releasing a new iPhone every single year. And this is, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago when I heard I forgot, it was some earnings call where I heard one of the execs talking about like upgrading every single year. And I was like, wait a second, are they actually going to upgrade every single year? Like, is that a thing? And now it kind of seems like, yeah, it's a thing. It's going to be like a new iPhone every year when it comes to NVIDIA. So it's pretty incredible stuff. And it looks like that will continue to have demand maintain itself on momentum. Inference has a bigger TAM. That is also correct. Inference does indeed have a bigger TAM, and that only leads for momentum in the context of what could happen for NVIDIA and the broader semis. Let's take a look at Google. So this morning I was kind of bullish Google, and now you got all the analysts on CNBC that are bearish Google. Maybe I'll be right. Maybe I'll be wrong. Again, no position in Google. I do think it's undervalued though. Here's Josh Brown on why he is selling Google before earnings and what he thinks is going on with the stock.
Expected to grow revenue 12% year over year. And that's been in decline for 4 straight quarters, which explains why the stock's valuation has compressed, which we'll talk about in a minute. But there are some really big competitive questions here. You've got companies like Perplexity that didn't exist 18 months ago that are now taking meaningful amounts of search queries. You've got OpenAI, and Google is expected to fall below 50% of the overall search market share next year for the first time since coming public. It's still the dominant player in search, but I don't remember a time where it's been this under siege. And a year ago, I think they could have done something about it. They're just moving too slowly. And so now they've integrated Gemini AI search results and this kind of AI summary at the top of the page. And I know they're working on the monetization strategy there, and maybe they'll have something positive to say. But I just think they're plodding along while these other companies are literally raising billions of dollars. The reason these other companies are able to sit across the table pre-earnings and raise billions of dollars from VCs is because there is this overwhelming sense out there that for the first time ever, Google is somewhat in a position where they could be disrupted. So
vulnerable.
You add that to the fact that you've got. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say you're suggesting they're vulnerable for the first time. Let me just move the ball for
potentially.
Yeah. Because what's interesting to me is, Weiss, you actually think the setup's good.
Yep. Okay, so another thing that's happening with Google right now, and don't shoot the messenger here. This is just me reporting what has happened. You guys might have seen this because it's going viral on the internet right now, specifically on X. If you type in Joe Rogan Trump interview on your YouTube feed right now, this is what I get. They are not actually showing, from my understanding, again, don't shoot the messenger. This is just what I'm looking at right here in front of you guys. Where is the interview that has 30 million views? Now, you might be saying, oh, well, there's all these clips, so that's fine. Well, no, because if you go to this page right here, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk interview, look at the first result. The interview. Look at the second result. The interview. The third result. The interview, because Elon has been on Joe Rogan 3 times. So, there's probably like millions of clips of Elon and Joe Rogan together, but the clips aren't popping up. The interviews are popping up because that's what people are looking for. In fact, in my search query, I said interview to put even more emphasis on the fact that I want the interview. Same thing right here. Joe Rogan Trump interview. There's no interview. This is actually going pretty viral on X right now. And, I mean, in terms of the stock, I actually haven't looked at Google stock. Is it down on this? I don't think it would be down on this, but you got some people saying, yeah, Google's like up 0.8%, so nothing too crazy. But you got some people saying this is some censorship. And, if you don't believe me, try it out yourself. I actually didn't believe in the beginning. I was like, are people tweeting these random screenshots? And then I just tried it. And I was like, yeah, the 30 million Joe Rogan interview, that it's not there. You have to go to Joe Rogan's actual YouTube page, and then it pops up. And again, it got 34 million views, so I don't think it was censored. 34 million views in 24 hours is not easy to get, and it doesn't feel like they censored that. But from the search results, it is kind of weird that it's not showing up. So that's one of the things, again, regardless of how you feel about that politically, this is something that Sundar has to address in a meaningful way. And it's very weird that it's not kind of being addressed. Amid, just look up Joe Rogan. It will appear. That's fine, but it's very weird why it's not opening when you type in Joe Rogan Trump. Like, the people that want to find this interview, they're typing in Joe Rogan Trump interview, Joe Rogan Trump. I mean, that's like 95%, I would be willing to bet, the search queries of people that just want to find the interview. Just like when I typed in Joe Rogan Elon. Let's do another example together. If I want to do Joe Rogan Bernie Sanders, first thing that pops up, the Bernie Sanders interview, not the clips, not all these random think pieces about the interview, just the interview itself, right? So it is very weird. Not sure exactly what's going on there, but I think Sundar is going to have a lot to talk about on this call. I don't know if they'll ask them this question, but the broader question about why Josh Brown is selling out of Google, or at least selling some of his Google today, which is about search and Perplexity. It seems like that's becoming a bigger concern. And after the bell, we're going to have to see how Google responds to that, or not after the bell today, but after the bell tomorrow, we're going to have to see how Google responds and, what their argument is around these search companies potentially taking market share from them. All right, we've got the market close in about 30 seconds. Palantir 44.98. Let's see if they get our guy to 45. Maybe today, maybe not. It is hovering right there. Where's Hood at the same time? Hood is at 27.94. Okay, so they're probably going to keep Hood below 28. Palantir, maybe it's like 3 cents away. Let's see how it closes. And then we will get into all the earnings that we got later today as well. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Monday, October 28th, 4 p.m. The stock market is now closed. Where do we close? Wow, would you look at that? 44.99. They just don't want us to see the 45, bro. They just don't want us to see the 45. 44.99 on Palantir, up about 0.29% of the day. Robinhood as well, 27.88. They took it right below 28 before the bell. That's fine. So you got Palantir 44.99, Robinhood 27.88, MicroStrategy 255, up about, it was up 10%. Now it's up 8.9% of the day. Bitcoin falling just a little bit from 69.9 at 69.6, holding 69, which is the good thing. So we'll see what happens with Bitcoin as we go further from there. Google right here up about 1% on the day. Tesla did fall 2.4%. Again, it makes sense. It was up a lot, so you would imagine there would be some pullback, and that's what we had. I don't think there was any news on Tesla that created a 2% decline. It was rather just it was up almost 30% last week, and so people probably took some profits. Rivian as well, up about 4% on the day. You had Starbucks up about 1% on the day. Let's look at the Max 7 to see how they ended out, and then we'll get into earnings. You have Apple up 1%, Microsoft down about 1/3%, Meta up about 1%, Google up 1%. Amazon was at 190 in the morning, now at 188. NVIDIA was down about 0.72%, and Tesla was down 2.4%. NVIDIA might have been down based on that TSM China news, where one of their chips was being used in a Chinese company that wasn't legally allowed to use it. So TSM down about 4.28% on the day. Maybe that had some impact as well on NVIDIA. All right, that's what we got going on. Oh, Raj, thank you for the $101 super chat. You guys being way too much kind with the super chats. Thank you so much. Happy belated birthday. Thank you for being you. I got you guys too. Raj, I appreciate it. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. $100 is a lot of money. And I really, really appreciate that. So thank you for that super chat right there. All right, let's get into earnings. We got a lot to discuss. TMDX also has earnings. Transmedics Group. Wow, these guys are up 4% right after the bell. So they've got some earnings coming up. CDNS, we got this one. This one's flat right now. Ford is up about 1%, and then Waste Management flat on the day. So let's get their numbers in just a little bit, and we'll go from there. Again, Raj, thank you for the $100 super chat. A fun fact for you guys, in Hindi, Raj means king. So that's what Raj's name actually means. Thank you, Raj. Really appreciate that. It means a lot. And then, is this the same, Raj? This is the same. Raj, thank you for the 20 gifted. Or the 30 gifted. Goodness gracious. Thank you, brother. I didn't even see you gave another 30 gifted, right? He's really acting like the king right now, okay? when it comes to being a Raj. So thank you, Raj. I appreciate that. So 30 gifted. If you are in the chat, you probably got a gifted membership. And or at least 30 of you got gifted memberships. So a bunch of you guys are members today. So thank you. Thank you, Raj. Appreciate that. It means the world. And thank you for blessing the audience with a bunch of memberships. Okay, so that's what we got on the end of the market for a bunch of these companies. Now let's take a look at earnings. So Ford is the big one we have, along with Waste Management, and then we'll get into some of these other ones. TMDX, let me see if they put out results yet. I don't think they did, but let's take a look. And then I think Ford will be a really interesting one. They had a kind of crappy quarter last time. GM actually had a good quarter, so we'll see if they can kind of live up to that. So the street's expecting about 46 cents per share from Ford and $45 billion in revenue. For Cadence, the street wants 1.4 in EPS, 1.18 billion in revenue. Waste Management, the street wants 5.1 billion in revenue, 1.88 earnings per share. And then we have to look at TMDX. Let's see if we can pull them up and see if they have numbers as well. What's the market cap of Ford? Ford is 45 billion. You know, Ford is still one of the top 10 stocks held on Robinhood. If you look at the Robinhood Investor Index, Ford is one of the top 10 stocks held in Robinhood. And I don't know why. I think it's because when people signed up maybe years ago, they got a bunch of like free Ford shares because Robinhood was like giving out shares to get people to sign up. And maybe that was one of the companies that they gave out a ton of shares with to acquire customers. But like it's up there with the Mag 7 on Robinhood, which is pretty damn incredible. Elon just tweeted the 100K H100 cluster will soon be a 200K cluster of H100s, H200s. Yeah, we covered that news just at the beginning of the show. If you missed that, NVIDIA is going to get another 100,000 order of Hopper GPUs by Elon Musk and XAI. XAI put out some really interesting image recognition products today. I used it live on the stream, and it was pretty incredible just how fast it was able to describe the image. So it looks like we're getting some more momentum with XAI. Okay, let me see if we have earnings results. TMDX, Transmedics, this did not report earnings yet. So the stock's moving right now outside of earnings. TMDX stock, this is one that got popular a couple months ago. Year to date, it's up 64%. So this one has done very well. Waste Management stock year to date is up 15%. And Ford stock year to date, I think is kind of flat, maybe up a little bit. Ford stock year to date is down 6.5%. So those are kind of the core companies that we are looking at. All right, so let me see if I can get Ford numbers. It's moving a little bit after hours, but I don't see results. Ford, no results. Okay, so we're probably waiting until 4:05-ish, which is right now. So it should be coming up pretty soon for more of these of these numbers. AMD is tomorrow, correct. AMD is tomorrow. CDNC, I don't have their, oh no, the numbers are out. Okay, CDMC is up 9%. All right, let's take a look at those numbers. CDNC. This is in the semiconductor space, right, June? If I'm not wrong, it's like design for semiconductors. I could be so wrong on this, but I think I'm right. CDNS. Results. Okay, beat expectations, raises guidance. CDNS earnings highlights. 126 versus 164 versus 126 EPS. That's above the 145 estimate. 30% year-over-year growth. Revenue 1.22 billion, above the estimate of 1.18 billion. Services of 115 million, that's doubled from 57 million last year. Adjusted operating margins of 45%, improved from 41% year over year. Raised their 2024 non-GAAP EPS guidance. Again, I don't know this company too well, but every single company, not every single company, but a lot of companies that I'm looking at for Q3 earnings, they are raising some type of guidance, whether it's 2024 fiscal year, 2025, Q4, 2024, they are raising their guidance. And now we have a new midpoint of $5.90 per share for what we are raising on guidance. Yes, they're a designer for using chips. Okay, so I should have them in my semis list a lot more. I don't look at these guys. CDN at $69 billion company. It's not a small company right here. Up 8%. So they are in the chip design business. You got up about 9% right here on 30% growth in EPS, 19% revenue growth, and more momentum. Do we have Ford earnings out? We do have Ford. Ford is up 3%. All right. We got some Ford. Let's see if we can get the numbers on Ford as well. Ford again pays how much dividend? Ford pays a 5.28% dividend, which is the main reason I think a lot of people own this stock, but capital appreciation also would be nice. All right, we got Ford numbers. Let's get them out right here. And let's take a look at what we're working with Ford. All right, here we go.
Earnings results, Phil.
John, this is a beat on the top and the bottom line for Ford in the third quarter, earning 49 cents a share, 2 cents better than what the street was expecting. Revenue coming in at 43.
Hold on, guys. TMDX is down 30%. Hold your horses. This is a stock that I just said was up 60% year to date and was getting very popular. Now the stock is down 26%. What the heck? This is the biggest, I think, move I've seen on earnings so far to the downside. I don't think I've seen a 30% down day on any companies that we've looked at. What the heck did they say, dude? What did they say? Third quarter revenue, 108 million. That's a 64% increase year over year. Net income of 4.2 million compared to a net loss in the previous year. Gross margin was 56%. Okay, so gross margins were down 5%. I don't know if that's enough to get the stock down 40%. But revenue was a beat. All right, let me get some information on that. We'll go back to Ford, and then I'll try to find some stuff on TMDX.
07 billion. The street was expecting just under 42 billion. And then let's look at the metrics. Remember, Ford breaks out the 3 business divisions: commercial vehicles, internal combustion, and electric vehicles. Commercial vehicles, that's been the profit driver all year long. They earned 1.81 billion in the third quarter. ICE, the internal combustion engine vehicles, earned 1.62 billion, and another quarterly loss for the electric vehicle business, this time 1.22 billion. When you break it down over 32,000 vehicles sold, the average loss per electric vehicle in the quarter, 38,250. That is an improvement compared to previous quarters. Free cash flow of 3.2 billion. Q3 EBIT margin of 5%. And then the guidance, there is a little bit of a change here. The 24 EBIT guide for the full year, earnings of approximately $10 billion. That's on the lower end of the previous guidance, which was $10 to $12 billion. Free cash flow remains the same, approximately $7.5 to $8.5 billion. And the commercial vehicle EBIT guide is approximately $9 billion. Internal combustion engine vehicle EBIT guide was approximately $5 billion. That's a big cut compared to previously. It was supposed to be $6 to $6.5 billion. And for the full year, they expect to lose approximately $5 billion when it comes to electric vehicles. Don't forget, we are going to be talking with John Lawler, CFO of Ford. We'll be talking with him in just a few minutes, even before the analyst call, guys.
Okay, so Ford earnings seemed like a nothing burger. The stock's down 2% right now. I mean, it seems like no one really cares too much about it right here. Now it's down about 3.5%. Transmedics is the one that is causing some issues right here. Okay, so Scott in the chat, it looks like this is the issue. EPS of 12 cents versus 31 cents expected. Again, this is actually really healthy to see. If the market expects you to make, by the way, SoFi closed at $11.19. We didn't even talk about that, but SoFi closed above $11, which is amazing. But if the market expects a certain number on profitability, which is EPS, and you don't deliver, yeah, you're gonna get hit, right? And so actually, I mean, I don't own the stock, and it would suck if I owned the stock, but just like from a market health perspective, it doesn't feel like the frothiness is that big if the market's going to take down a company just for missing on EPS. But it looks like that's a pretty decent EPS miss on revenue. They missed on revenue as well. Yeah, they missed on everything. So missed on revenue, 115 versus 108, EPS of 12 cents versus 31 cents, maintains their revenue guidance, and they didn't raise their guidance. Transmedics Group. How big is this company? This is a $4 billion company, so I would classify it as a small cap. And it was really hyped up on Twitter. I've never looked into it that deeply, but I remember there was a couple accounts like a couple months ago that were just like really hyping Transmedics, and I don't know, I just never, got into it. But that is a hefty decline, dude. Down 25% after being up 24%. At one point, it was at 170. So at one point, the stock was up closer to 95% year to date. Then it kind of chilled down from 170 to 120. So already from 170 to 120, it took a breather, pretty aggressive breather. And now you're down from 170 to 91 after hours as the stock is kind of chilling out. Amit, do you still have your sister's $11 options on SoFi? Yes, I do. And those are up like 340%. So hopefully it's not 11, it's 12. It has to get to $12. So if it gets to 12, then she'll be up a good 500% on those. And she'll hopefully be happy that I bought those options for her. Let's do a couple super chats and then we'll get back into the show. ALX M645, thank you for the 1,299. I believe this is Mexican pesos. Appreciate this. I think it's like $60 USD. Happy birthday, mate. Following you before the Daily Cowbell was even an idea. One of my favorite channels. I appreciate you're an OG then if you remember the Daily Cowbell. So thank you for being here. Now the Cowbell has made its way onto the market open and market close every day. And Simon, thank you for the 27 New Zealand dollars, I believe. One for every year, Amit. Thank you so much, Simon. Appreciate that. Thank you guys again, all of you yesterday for the birthday wishes and today as well. So really, really appreciate that. All right. So Transmedics now down 27%, Ford down 3%, Waste Management. We don't have their numbers yet. Those numbers I'm very curious about. And then you got CDNS that crushed it today, up 7%. They're actually growing revenues and EPS and raising guidance, all the stuff the street wants to see, which is why we're getting some love. Let's take a look at those CDNS results as well. Cadence Design, and then we'll get into TMDX, and we'll see what's going on with them.
Let's get to those. Julia Borston has them with that stock up nicely in overtime.
John, Cadence Design beating on both the top and bottom line, reporting EPS of $1.64 adjusted versus estimates of $1.44, so a 20-cent beat there. Revenues of $1.22 billion, coming in ahead of estimates of $1.18 billion, and the company raising the midpoint of its 2024 EPS outlook to $5.90. The company is saying in its release here that their fourth quarter bookings pipeline looks exceptionally strong, saying we are well positioned to deliver a strong 2024. And you see the stock is now up nearly 10% in after hours trading. Back over to you.
Okay, Julia, thanks. Now let's jump over.
All right, so Cadence doing the best out of all these companies reporting today. Kind of a mixed bag. Again, tomorrow's going to be the big day for earnings to start off with big tech. But so far, Cadence doing the best. Waste Management, we don't have their numbers yet. Here's a stat on Waste Management's performance. Let me know if you guys own Waste Management. It kind of is like a logical thing, I feel like, to have in a dividend portfolio because like they have a pseudo monopoly on trash in the United States and someone's got to manage it. And so you would imagine it's Waste Management. So 2024, they're up 16% year to date. 2023, they were up 16%. 2022, they only fell 5%. 2021, they were up 43%. In 2019, they were up 30%. So overall, it's been a pretty solid stock for the past 10 years with the dividend. And, demand, I would imagine, continues to grow as we have more waste as well in the United States. Republic is Waste Management's only real competition. Correct. Republic is their kind of only their largest competitor if they do have any competitor. Transmedics still down 31%. So I just ChatGPT'd what Transmedics is, because honestly, I don't know much about it. And apparently it's a medical technology company focused on organ transplant solutions. They developed an organ care system, a platform designed to improve organ preservation, transportation, and optimization for transplantation. The goal is to enhance transplant outcomes by providing better presentation methods and preservation methods compared to traditional cold storage, potentially allowing organs to be transported over longer distances and used in a large number of transplant cases. So that's actually a very noble cause to being able to try to resolve. I mean, I imagine we all know people in our family, and one day we might need some type of organ transplant. And if that's the case, this new platform that they developed, they're trying to do like some really important shit in the world. The problem is the results just might not have been that good enough for the street, and that's why you got it going down about 30% right now. Where's Ford? Is Ford dumping? Ford is now dumping, down about 5% on the day. Realistically, I would rather buy Tesla at like $350 over Ford at any price. I don't know. I just don't know who's long Ford and is happy about being long Ford. You know, it's like, what are we really investing in when it comes to Ford? All right, let's get another earnings update and then we'll keep going from there.
For us, Julia. Morgan, VF Corp beating on the top and bottom line, reporting adjusted earnings of 60 cents per share, far above the 37-cent estimate. Does the analyst consensus. Revenues of 2.76.
VF Corp is a apparel company. So like clothes is what VF Corp sells.
Also ahead of estimates of 2.71 billion. The company giving third quarter revenue guidance in a range of between fiscal third quarter revenue guidance in a range of between 2.7 billion and 2.75 billion. That is lower than the consensus expectation for fiscal third quarter guidance. Also talking about how the board of directors declared a quarterly dividend of 9 cents per share. Now, in other retail news, in other retail news, Boot Barn reporting its earnings and announcing that its CEO, James Conroy, would be stepping down. James Conroy is becoming the new CEO of Ross Stores. So this news out as part of Boot Barn's earnings release, that they're having the CEO transition. As the Boot Barn CEO becomes the CEO of Ross Stores, Boot Barn will have its an interim CEO in John Hazen, the company's current chief digital officer. So some musical chairs there in the retail space. Back over to you.
All right, and you're seeing it in the stock.
So VFC, apparently someone said they own Vans. I didn't know that, but VFC is up 17%, folks. This is really good to see. $6 billion company. Why is it good to see? Because it's a consumer company. And if a consumer company is able to go up 17%, I mean, there's no technology here. It's just buy low, sell high when it comes to clothes. It means that demand is strong, dude. I mean, it looks like demand is truly not letting up when it comes to a variety of these different industries that we're looking at across the entire market. Let's read what the CEO said again to try to get a better understanding of this. Our results in the quarter met our expectations and reflect a sequential and broad-based improvement in year-over-year trends. At the same time, we made further progress on our 4 reinvent priorities, and we are on track to reach our previously announced $300 million savings target by the end of fiscal year 2025. That's great. That means their operating expenses are going in the right direction. Following the completion of the Supreme divestiture on October 1st, 2024. Okay, so apparently they owned Supreme and they sold it. Who bought Supreme again? I'm forgetting. Was it Facebook? Was it Meta? It was a famous company that bought Supreme. We delivered on our commitment to pay down VF's $1 billion term loan due December 2024. That's amazing. Our America's regional platform is fully operational and showing promising signs while the performance at Vans is improving. In summary, we advanced our turnaround plan towards a return to growth and strong sustainable value creation at VF. There you go. There you go. More consumer companies popping up and they're saying, hey, we're doing what we're doing and we are not messing around here when it comes to becoming operationally efficient. Again, these are the earnings that I love to see because although they're small companies, they're taking advantage of the moment, which is to make sure that as interest rates come down, they can meaningfully pay off debt. They can make sure that the market knows they have a track record of profitability or getting close to profitability, which is why Affirm is doing so well, because Affirm is basically telling the market that we are going to be profitable. And the market's then rewarding them because they're taking money out of stuff that isn't performing and they're dumping it into stuff that is performing. And again, you got that 10-year and bonds that are decent competition for stocks right now if you're not performing. So if the market doesn't find, if a stock's doing well, they'll either find another stock or they'll find the bond markets or even the money market funds to be able to allocate capital to. So to me, this feels healthy. This feels not euphoric. This feels very healthy and not really bubblish, although there are some, stocks that are overvalued here and there. But it doesn't seem like the entire market is necessarily getting overvalued. Cadence up 7%. Waste Management, we don't have their earnings yet. I think they come out at 4:30. I don't see any numbers on Waste Management, but that is going to be an important one. Okay, Calix, let's add that to the watch list. Calix Networks. I don't know this company at all, but Troy says we need to add it to the watch list. Do they have earnings today, Troy? Because if they have earnings, I'll take a look at it. But if not, then we'll just go through and see what that company does as well. Derek, I don't know why he keeps doing. Derek, thank you for the 50 gifted memberships. Appreciate you, dude. The entire channel is like going to become a member by the end of this month or something, given what Derek's doing. So he gave 50 in the morning. So if you have not gotten a membership, probably right now, YouTube just gave you a membership. And now you're a member of the channel. And there you go. Ibrahim, you got a membership. Sam, you got a membership. CG, you got a membership. Bright, you got a membership. A bunch of you guys got memberships to this channel. Again, you don't get anything if you become a member. It's $5 a month just to support the channel. So thank you, Derek, for gifting it to 50 more people. Appreciate you, Derek. Thank you for being here as well. And, based on Derek's call last night, he was on the show on the Sunday Future Show. I'm going to be looking more into Archer. It's one of those companies that is an interesting one. Again, in the eVTOL space, doesn't look like it's going anywhere. And it's one of those things that deserves at least a good look when it comes to the due diligence on it. $3 stock, $1.2 billion market cap. If we believe that flying from Los Angeles to San Francisco will take 20 minutes instead of via an eVTOL versus like a 4-hour drive, then this could be one of the companies along with Joby that actually makes that real. So we'll be doing some DD and looking at that even further. Bitcoin right here, 69,558. Where's IBIT? IBIT is 39.67. So IBIT's up about 4.3% of the day. MicroStrategy as well, up about 8.9%. And then SoFi right here, SoFi 11.19. This is the first $11 close on SoFi ever. And it's a big $11 close at 11.19. So SoFi is getting a ton of momentum. And tomorrow we officially have earnings to kind of see what happens with SoFi, how it plays out, and ultimately how the street is going to think of what's going on with SoFi. All right, we got Ford CEO on CNBC. Let's see what he has to say about these results and kind of how he's justifying these numbers as well. TH only, thank you for the $20 super chat. Happy birthday, Mitt. What do you think about Celsius? I am not the biggest fan of Celsius. Just never thought going long energy drinks was super exciting. I know I said that last week and everyone was like, Monster is the best performing stock in the S&P. I was like, okay, good. That's a fair point. But in general, look, I think Celsius has bottomed for the year. It's down 65%. They would have to massively screw up earnings for them to like go down even further than 30, which could happen. But I think a lot of negativity is priced into the stock. So if you're going to take a gander at it at $29, $30, and you're bullish in general on their growth and their collaboration with Pepsi, their margins, and then the overall energy market, I think this would be the time to take a look at it versus at 15, because I don't know if it gets back to 15. All right, here's the Ford CEO. Let's see what he has to say.
Thank you, John. John Lawler, thank you for joining us. And I think the question that a lot of investors have looking at the reaction after the earnings came out is, let's talk about your guidance. You beat the street on the top and the bottom line in the third quarter, but you're guiding towards the low end of your full 24 earnings, what you're expecting for the year. What's driving that caution?
Well, when you look at the year in total, Phil, our top line's doing better than we had expected on strong volume and mix, especially in Ford Pro. Pricing's doing better than the industry overall. We're also seeing cost reductions come out. We've taken $2 billion of cost out in material, manufacturing, and freight costs, as we committed to do this year. But we are seeing headwinds overall this year in both warranty costs and inflationary costs for our joint venture partner in Turkey, Ford Otosan, which raises the cost of our vans in Europe.
You mentioned warranties just now, but it's not in your earnings release in terms of how much you lost in the third quarter, or I shouldn't say lost, but what the impact was. Can you tell us if you made progress there? Because you've struggled in previous quarters there.
When you look at the third quarter, we had a solid quarter. Revenue was up 5%. It's our 10th consecutive quarter.
Why does he sound so robotic, bro? Like, literally sounds like he's on an earnings call right now. Like, gotta have some fun, loosen up, bro. I wish these guys would hire me to coach them, bro. Now, maybe they shouldn't do that because I would give them a little bit too many jokes and they might deploy them on CNBC and it might not be appropriate. But still, like, just so boring, bro.
Of top line growth. Costs were down slightly. And so we had a good EBIT at $2.6 billion, up $400 million. And we are seeing traction in the quarter on cost reductions. They're down slightly. And, warranty is a part of that. And overall, we're working very diligently to improve our warranty costs. We're seeing green shoots from a physical standpoint, or those leading indicators that tell you what's happening with your quality. Our 3 months in service quality has improved 31% since the 22 model year compared to the 24 model year. And then we'll eventually start to see that flow through on the bottom line from a cost standpoint. We haven't seen that come through in a meaningful way yet, but over time, we will see that come through.
Hi, John. It's John Fort. I've got some questions for you about hybrids. That business was up 30% for you. It was up a little more than that, I think, last quarter. And especially in trucks, you've got 77% of the hybrid truck market in the quarter. Sales up 42% there of hybrid trucks. How much can you lean into what seems to be an outsized area of success for Ford there in hybrids?
Well, look, that's been a great success for us. It's our customers have choice with us. They can get an ICE engine or internal combustion engine. They can get a hybrid, and they can get a full EV vehicle. We're leading in hybrids. We have great products for our consumers. We're growing considerably, as you said, up 30%, and we're going to continue to lean into that space. We had been out in front of it. We've been a leader in hybrid for years, and we're going to continue to do that and offer our customers the choice they want, to find the best powertrain that meets their needs. And I think that's a competitive advantage for us. And it's proving that in the marketplace with the results we have.
So, John,
All right. So Ford continues to be Ford. We should have Waste Management coming up pretty soon. Why did Tesla sell off? I don't think anyone has a real reason for it other than the stock was up almost 30% and took a little breather. Oh, Waste Management. No, never mind. That's not out yet. Not out yet. So yeah, that's, I think, why Tesla sold off. Nothing too crazy. But in terms of Ford, down 4.5%. Again, on a stock that barely moves, being down 4% is a big move. And Ford was $11 in 2008. So this is one of those companies where I imagine people are holding it for the dividend like that. I don't, unless they think there's something Ford has planned that is more exciting than Tesla or something. I don't know. I really don't know what's the bull case on owning Ford outside of a 6% dividend. And also, I looked at the option premiums on Ford. They suck. The premiums are not good on wheeling it. So it's not even like selling puts or calls on it is like makes it attractive for traders. So not sure what people think Ford will bring when it comes to the futures of EVs, hybrids, or in general, the automotive industry. Okay, Waste Management should have 2 minutes left, and then we get their responses or their earnings. This is going to be a really important one. I think, I don't know this business too well, so I don't really have an expectation on this, but just in general, the Waste Management is a stellar company, and they tend to perform every single year, and they have a lot of demand every single year based on the nature of their business. Street wants 188 on EPS, 5.5 billion on revenue. Waste Management doing well would just be a good thing to further show the momentum in every sector of the broader economy is doing well, and it's not just tech, which is very important. Seems like we have a reason for why Tesla's down, folks. Thank you to Gene, who just sent me this. This is an article by Barron's. I don't know if this is accurate or not, but this is the screenshot. Tesla insiders plan to sell $300 million of stock. 3 Tesla insiders have adopted trading plans that are set to sell more than $300 million of stock based on a recent market price. Tesla chair Robin and directors Kathleen Wilson Thompson and Kimball Musk, which is Elon's brother, adopted trading plans to sell up to a total of 1.13 million shares of the EV maker. I imagine that plan was disclosed today because Tesla was at 272. So I guess when this was disclosed today, and again, I'll verify this in a second, that's when the stock probably took a little bit of a hit. And I mean, that's fair. Like if you're going to get a $300 million sell-off, like that's fair. Now, granted, do they deserve to sell right now? Yeah. I mean, the stock's up a lot from the bottom. So I can understand why they're selling, but that might be the reason why it's coming down. 4 hours old. Okay, so that makes sense because that's when Tesla fell. Tesla literally fell 4 hours ago from that 272 to 262. This is Tesla's chart today. Take a look at this. Yeah, literally look at it. Was at what? 269, 270 at 11:50 a.m. And then it looks like this news came out around 1 o'clock-ish, and that's when the stock started falling. Look, is that a big deal? No. Just like Carp selling 1.7 million shares yesterday, is that a big deal? Not really. I mean, at the end of the day, if there's liquidity for these stocks in the broader market, then insider selling is something to look at, but I don't think it's the end all be all, because, at the end of the day, the companies are executing. If they're executing, there's going to be a market for their stocks. SoFi right here up a little bit after hours, 11:22. All right, Waste Management should be out very soon. Don't have too much movement after the bell. Let me see if we can get these numbers and see what they are doing. HR, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate that. Thank you for becoming a member. Thoughts on TQQQ? I think buying TQQQ is a little risky right now. Qs are up a lot this year. You buy triple Q leveraged 3x TQQQ when, the Qs are in the gutter. So the time to buy this was in 2022, or the time to buy this was on August 5th. Now that the Qs have done so well, I don't know. I don't know if going up triple leverage on the Qs is the smartest thing right here. Just given they've run a lot, right? And if they come down, then the triple leverage just makes the downside on the ETF go even further. But if you want to hold for the long term, I don't think it's the worst thing. The one thing is, like, I don't know if holding these triple leverage ETFs for the long term, even if it's just triple against the Qs, makes sense, because again, you have to deal with the net asset erosion, and there's so many other idiosyncratic things that happen with these leveraged ETFs that I'd rather just buy the Qs and develop a heavier position in them versus the triple leverage ones. All right, Waste Management, no results yet. We should be getting that soon, and that'll cop off the earnings for today. Did we have other earnings? Let me see. Yes, we had F5 Inc. FFIV. I don't know what the hell FFIV is, but let's take a look at this. I have no idea what this is, but let's look at this while we're waiting for Waste Management.
And outperformance. Increasingly, we're getting opportunity to consolidate these solutions into a single platform that provides all security and all delivery services for applications across all the environments in which our customers operate.
Okay, so F5, I just looked it up right now. It's a cloud provider that does multi-cloud networking, application and network performance. I feel like I've heard of this company before. What is their market cap? FFIV. I feel like I've heard of these guys. FFIV, F5, 12 billion. Yeah, look at that. Up 10% after on earnings. Again, I don't know this company that well, but more and more companies are beating their freaking numbers, and the market is rewarding them. So the exact numbers on F5, fourth quarter, 747 million. That's up from 707 last year. GAAP net income was 165 million. So it's a profitable company. CEO says our results speak to the power of our portfolio and innovation, the strength of our operating model, and the resilience of our business. In a relatively short period of time, we have substantially reshaped F5 from a hardware-centric single product company into a security and software leader in today's hybrid multi-cloud world. Stock right there is up 10% on a $12 billion market cap. Not bad. Not bad at all. It looks like he was on Mr. Rogers' show today. That's funny. That's better than the Where's Waldo comments. That's at least we got some innovation in the jokes here. All right, where is Waste Management? We need these results. What's going on with Waste Management? I want to make sure the results are not trash. Get it? Anyway, we got to make sure these results are decent. Still not out yet. That's weird. I guess I don't think they're like a 5:30 company. I think they're usually 4:30. Yeah, still no one has them yet. No one has them for Waste Management. Okay, so while we're waiting for that, let me talk about a couple other things. Robinhood, didn't get to talk about them too much. Ended the day at 27.85. Again, for those that are wondering why Robinhood was up 3% today, the new betting markets they introduced are pretty incredible. You had Chris Camillo, the guy who I had on the show a couple weeks ago. By the way, that interview got like 45,000 views. So people really liked his perspectives on Palantir and just how he thinks of investing. But he said, this announcement feels bigger than people realize, reminds me of Doge's impact on Hood. So you got Chris Camillo, who's more of a momentum investor, trader, thinking that the betting markets potentially could do to Robinhood what Dogecoin did. What Dogecoin did was just introduce a massive flurry of people who were interested in this unique cryptocurrency asset, alternative, essentially meme coin, that brought people into the Robinhood ecosystem. And for this to be another form of customer acquisition, I think could be massive, given Kalshi is showing the market, right? Kalshi is number one on the App Store ahead of Cash App. And so obviously the market demand is massive. Maybe it's a little bit of a fad, and when the election dies out, people don't care that much. We'll see if that's the case. But if people keep betting on sports, pop culture, music, all these categories, and Robinhood creates an integrated marketplace that is like number 3 behind DraftKings and FanDuel, etc. That's a pretty big market to win, much less if they try to like actually go for DraftKings lunch, which I don't think will happen. DraftKings is a very sophisticated sports betting platform. Like they've done a lot of work to build that out. I think they have a moat, but it doesn't mean other companies can't come in and try to play around with their moat a little bit if they can build their own versions of it and still bring in net new lines of revenue. And that's why the street's excited. So Robinhood up 3% on that news here today as well. SoundHound, was SoundHound up today? SoundHound, wow. SoundHound was up 18% today. What the hell happened with SoundHound? I have no idea. SoundHound was $10 a couple months ago. Then it fell back to $3. Now it's back at $6. No one has any news on SoundHound. What I'm looking at is just technical breakout for SoundHound. Same thing with Oklo. There was no news on Oklo today, not from my understanding. It was just a technical breakout up about 28%. You would think there's some news to get a stock up 28%. Same thing with SoundHound to get it up 18%. But it doesn't look like there was any crazy news here. The question is, what will happen with SoFi tomorrow? 180 million shares short with a 65% chance of a squeeze. What will happen? So there's not a 65% chance of a squeeze. There is a chance that SoFi crushes earnings and the market rewards them, and then becomes a question of like, hey, do the shorts get scared enough to squeeze it or to cover, which would cause a squeeze? I don't know. I don't think any of us know. I'll be live tomorrow at like 7:30 covering the earnings. Either I'm going to feel stupid for not, taking some profits on the options I bought that are up 140% in 2 weeks the day before earnings, or I'm going to be really happy that I just let them ride. I guess we'll see. But I think they're going to crush. I think Noda's going to crush. And then I think those shorts are going to have to make a decision. If the decision is, hey, we're going to get rid of this short, then that could create a squeeze. It doesn't have to create a massive squeeze, but a squeeze up to $12 along with good earnings momentum and some upgrades and Nodo being bullish, that could see SoFi a little bit higher than it is right now. And again, SoFi's had a good run from 7 to 11, but it's in an uptrend. And it doesn't feel like the trend is fake because the 2025 tailwind is lending. And so it feels real compared to August 2023, when that was obviously just not a real run if you looked at what was going on with the macro dynamics. So I think SoFi will have a good run. And then it's just a question of if the shorts will actually begin to squeeze. Okay, Waste Management. I still don't think we have any results on these guys yet. Still waiting on them. Maybe they released it at 5, but I don't think they released it at 5. Oh, where did the S&P close? Because the S&P is supposed to be up about 0.5% on the day historically. S&P closed 0.3%. All right, so this October 28th was one of the underperformers historically on other October 28ths since 1950. But still, not a bad day for the S&P, up about 0.33%. Are you familiar with Transmedics? Yes, we looked at it today. Where is the stock at right now? So they were down 30% last time I looked. Now they're down 26%. I don't know enough about them to say if this is a buy the dip. They did miss badly on their EPS number, but maybe there's a reason they missed badly on that. It's not like they're not profitable. They're just not as profitable as the street wanted. But for those that are in TMDX, you got to ask yourself a question now. Is this a reason? Is this an irrational dip by the street? And is there an opportunity there in terms of buying it? Do you still hold HOOD options? Yes, I hold all of them. And the goal is to liquidate them in January. And, Robinhood's been doing well. So we'll see if the momentum can continue, but yeah, still hold a decent amount of HOOD options. Is Waste Management considered a utility stock? They have geographical monopolies. That's a great question. I would say to an extent you could categorize them as utilities, and utilities have been catching a bid over the past couple of weeks. So yeah, I think, from a geographic perspective, I think they have an entire monopoly on waste in the United States, which is why they're such a big company. $83 billion market cap. They're doing about $20 billion a year in revenue. There's some competitors, but not many. I mean, pretty much in your neighborhood, if you have organized trucks that come to pick up your trash, a lot of them most likely are from Waste Management. I mean, they cover a decent amount of the country, and they pay a nice little dividend. So maybe it's one to look a little bit deeper into. 1.44% on the dividend and up about 16% for the year. Where's Ford? Is Ford still getting hit? Ford is... Wow. No. Hold on. This is the wrong Ford. Where's Ford? Ford is... Yeah, still down about 4.2%, 4.4. Again, dude, I just don't know why anyone would buy Ford. It's like there's got to be something deeper there. Volume, dude, the volume is 91 million shares on Ford. Why are people trading this? Are they like fighting for pennies and they're day trading it? Like, who's realistically trading Ford every single day? Like, there's no retail community for Ford. The institutional investors, don't they have something better to invest in than Ford? Like 91 million shares of volume, really, on Ford stock? Like, who's messing with Ford every day? Because it's steady. Yeah, but that also, so then where are the gains coming from, right? Or is it just the dividend at that point? Or is it the wheeling of it? Which, because I checked, the option premiums are not that exciting on Ford. Ford Motors, the average volume is 45 million. Today was 91 million. So today you had double, but the average is still 45 million on Ford. It's a day trading stock. That's what I feel like it is. It feels like it's more of a day trading stock than anything. Okay, let's get an update on oil as we're waiting for Waste Management, because crude oil did hit its lowest level in like, I would say about 18 months. 67.94, down about 5.34% of the day. So let's get an update on that.
Mike Santoli is back to put this latest sell-off into context for us, Mike.
Yeah, Morgan, whatever modest geopolitical premium might have been in the oil price, clearly coming out of it today. Take a look at a 4-year chart. This is of WTI crude, along with DBC is the broad commodity index exchange traded product. And so you see, obviously, oil is pretty much the prime driver of this at the margin. But now down to levels it's really rarely traded below over the last 3 years. It also takes both of these back to, pre-Ukraine invasion levels. So from an inflation perspective, this is good news. Goods-based inflation has been really yesterday's problem for a while. Maybe you wouldn't want to see it go too far below this. And who knows, maybe around that mid-60s area for WTI, it ends up being short-term support. Now, take a look at the consumer end of this, essentially how affordable gasoline is becoming on a relative basis to average hourly earnings. This is the number of gallons of gasoline the average worker can buy with an hour's worth of work. So average hourly earnings for non-supervisory and production employees is a bit over $30 an hour. You have the national gasoline price is a little bit over $3. So between 9 and 10 gallons is what you can get here. This goes back 20 years. So you see it's kind of in the upper end of the range in terms of affordability of gasoline. Clearly, that should end up being a little bit of a cushion for consumers going into the end of the year, Morgan.
Yeah, and it's a good point you make there, especially as we do start to hear all this chatter on earnings calls about the health of the consumer. I want to go back, though, to something you were talking about earlier in the show, and that is you had the 10-year Treasury yields flirting with 4.3%, which is considered that key technical level. What we've seen in recent days and recent weeks of trading is that yields and oil prices have moved in tandem. The fact that that relationship seems to have broken down today, how meaningful is that, if at all?
Yeah, I would want it's true. I'd want to see it more than a one-day news reaction move in oil to see if that, in fact, has been a broken relationship, because you're right. Yields, because they incorporate headline inflation expectations and reflation expectations, it should, on a short-term basis, end up being in tandem. So you want to monitor that relationship. Again, we're trying to figure out all the different drivers of this bond market move. Clearly, inflation expectations is a part of it. Clearly, growth performance is part of it. Clearly, Fed expectations and maybe some Treasury supply deficit concerns are filtering into it. But, it doesn't really tell us why it's doing what it's doing. So it's up to us to figure it out, John.
Drivers, gas. I see what you did there,
There you go.
unintentionally, perhaps.
You're
Mike
welcome,
Santoli, thank you.
Yeah.
Up next, Lux Capital co-founder Josh.
Okay, cool. So again, we talked about it in the morning, but oil prices coming down is great for the broader economy, great for airlines. We do have JetBlue Airlines tomorrow in the morning. We got a ton of airlines that are going to start reporting. So we'll kind of see what those airlines have to say. Waste Management, I'm reading the September 25th report. It says third quarter financial results after the close of the market on Monday, October 28th, but its investor call will be Tuesday in the morning, tomorrow. Today is Monday, October 28th, and we don't have any earnings from Waste Management. And it's 4:40. So I don't know what the heck's going on here, but unless they release it at 5 p.m., which is kind of weird, I would imagine those results should be out soon, even if the call is tomorrow. Yeah, it's definitely 100% happening today, but we have, no results on that yet. Omar, thank you for the $2 super chat. My dad called and asked if he should buy Palantir. You guys are buy Palantir. You guys are probably getting these messages, right? From just a bunch of people like asking, hey, should I get into Palantir? Should I get into? I'm getting a bunch of them, and I'm just like, you know, like, what do you say to someone? Because like, like, hey, at this price, it's expensive, but it's also like, we've been talking about it for a while, and so it's like you can't just come after it goes from 15 to 45 and say, is this the right time? Because like, obviously the right time was back at 15, but I think a lot more people are probably asking more and more if they should buy Palantir. Is Arnie staying all in on Palantir into earnings? Yeah, I mean, look, Arnie is like 90% in Palantir or 85%. He does have, some stuff outside of Palantir. I think the rest of his portfolio is honestly Hood. But yeah, I mean, Arnie's averages are very low. So even that's the good thing about having a low average. Even if Palantir falls 20%, 30%, if you have a $7, $8, $9, $10 average, which I know a lot of people have because they just, they loaded up a lot in that range. I mean, really doesn't matter that much. It's like, all right, it'll go back to 45 eventually, right? It's like, it's just when your margin of safety is so strong, it doesn't matter. Now, if you have a $38 average and it falls 30%, then it sucks. But it's just different if you've been in there very early. You can't not invest in Ford. The entire U.S. economy would collapse. You're talking about healthcare, pensions, debt, all kind of stuff. Well, that is true, given Ford has so many employees and Ford is a staple in the American economy. It's just a question of, do people actually care enough about Ford's future? One comment you guys did make is that Ford's reliability on wheeling, even if the premiums aren't great, could make it a good candidate to wheel. That's fair. The problem is if you're assigned the shares, do you really want to own those shares at the end of the day? Which maybe because it's so reliable, you don't care. But I think that is the big question for the wheelers. The interview with Gali, I got to speak with Gali from Hyperchange today. He's one of the OG Tesla guys. That interview will be on his channel. I think probably in like a day, maybe tomorrow. So we talked about Palantir, Airbnb, Robinhood, Tesla, obviously, all that good stuff. So that'll be out later today. Okay, let's take a look at this interview because I think this is really interesting. They're actually talking about CARP in this interview right now. This is one of the founders of a VC fund called Lux Capital. And I think they're going to discuss defense and AI. So let's get this perspective and see what they say on CARP as well.
Lockheed Martin made F-35, taking out air defense systems around key energy facilities. Defense tech, it's a growing theme for investors. It's something Palantir CEO Alex Karp talked about in our exclusive interview just last week.
We're commercial companies that are patriotic. And so how do we get the best patriotic companies to produce the most lethal technology in the world for America and not for our adversaries? And how do we get it to the DoD in ways that are cheaper, in ways that the margins are better?
Joining us now is Lux Capital co-founder Josh Wolf. Lux Capital has investments in a number of defense tech startups, including Anduril, and a number of other industries, too. We're going to get to all of it, Josh. It's great to have you back on the show. But I do want to start right there with those comments from CARP, because we have also seen in the last couple of days the increasing push with the Biden administration putting out this national security memorandum around AI, this increasing push to see more AI in more defense, more national security, more intelligence capabilities. And given what we did see with these targeted strikes over the weekend, just wanted to start right there with you and the role that artificial intelligence and some of these new technological capabilities are playing on the battlefield.
Well, I happen to agree with Alex. He's a friend and a great leader and a great American. The key thing here is scientific and technological superiority. What Alex is talking about at Palantir and many of the people that they're partnering with, many of the companies in our portfolio, Anduril and Hadrian and Saildrone and Varda, all the people that are at the cutting edge of aerospace and defense all start with the premise that they have some technological breakthrough, that they can do something that nobody else in the world can do. And we want in our country companies and capabilities that have things that nobody else in the world can do. That is what Israel delivered. That is what the U.S. is able to deliver. That is what we need against our adversaries, scientific and technological superiority. We see that in hard power, in the technologies of new ventures in aerospace and defense. We've been putting close to $1 billion into that field. And we have a new initiative, particularly around the soft power piece, which is the new cutting edge scientific and technological breakthroughs that are coming out of universities, in some cases coming out of big tech, that we can spin out and start brand new ventures on to deliver those kinds of capabilities.
And of course, that's...
Now, again, this guy's a VC. VCs determine the new trends. Why is Palantir getting a $100 billion market cap? One of the reasons is that the trend is defense and Western values being good. You got this guy who's probably allocating a couple $100 million into these defense startups, looking at Palantir as like the gold mine in terms of how to build a real defense company. And so that's why he's giving CARP's praises, and that's why you're going to see the public markets probably react positively to companies like Palantir and Anduril over the next 10 years.
Lux Labs, which is the news that you're coming to us with. So what does that entail, and how does that help to feed the pipeline for future tech and for future entrepreneurs?
You look at even the woman who invented the mRNA vaccine, and she was told that she wasn't of sort of faculty quality. We have massive institutional bureaucracy inside of our scientific institutions, and you need people that are the entrepreneurs and the founders and the venture capitalists like us, not only to fund these companies, but in some cases to help create them, to help incept them. So we love to be there at the founding moment and be the first funder, but we also like to help co-found or create these companies. Sometimes that's coming out of university lab. We've done that out of Columbia and biotech. We've done that out of big companies like Apple and Google and Meta. Out of Apple, we've taken two companies, one focused on 4D LiDAR for autonomous driving, one that hasn't yet been announced in cutting edge batteries. Out of Google, we've done two companies, one that we co-founded to digitize olfaction called the Osmo, and another that we were the first funders in for physical intelligence, which is their core robotics brain company, basically developing the AI for the future of robotics. And then out of Meta, we were the founding investors in Evolutionary Scale, which was the key team developing frontier models for AI and biology. And we're going to continue to do that, both take advantage of the capital market cycle where interest rates are rising, big companies are saying we're going to shut down some of these groups, and also helping to free up the bureaucracy from the institutional sclerotic processes that are in university labs, where we can take these technologies and deliver them to consumers, to commercial businesses, and ultimately in defense cases to the warfighter.
Okay, too many buzzwords by this guy. There's a way to use buzzwords. There's a way not to. I think he was trying way too hard to put too many buzzwords in there. But his point is defense startups are getting a bid. And I think all of us have to pay attention to defense companies getting a bid or defense startups getting a bid, because if they get a bid, a lot of times that means the public markets are gonna follow through on the actual defense tech companies that exist. And there's not that many of them. Lockheed and Raytheon are always gonna have demand for a variety of reasons, but those to me aren't like the big moonshots when it comes to defense. It's Palantir and Anduril. And Anduril is not public yet, but Palantir is, which is another reason I think they have a mandate from some of these funds that care about defense to end up buying Palantir stock, which is what we're seeing right now. I too like the buzzwords. Needs more AI and ontology. Yeah, we know Palantir will be getting up there when people start coming on CNBC and talking about the ontology. Because like every time I see a CNBC analyst, they just say big data, or they say like LLM, or they say like Palantir commercial growth. None of them actually talk about the ontology, which is like the kind of core defining feature. By the way, I have a podcast coming out in like 2 hours with a kid, 19 years old in Berkeley, California, who's building a ton of shit on Foundry and AIP. I think you guys are going to enjoy the podcast. It's 20 minutes, super short, but digestible. But basically, it's a software engineer's perspective on why he likes using Foundry. And these are the kids that are going to be the next big engineers over the next 20 years. So I think their perspectives on Palantir are really, really important, because it's going to let us know if these developers truly will start evangelizing this product and using it a lot more. So I think that podcast will be interesting, and that'll be out in a couple hours. But again, none of the CNBC analysts actually talk about the shit that the kid was talking to me about, which is the ontology and the data infrastructure. All these analysts just care about, is the stock going to go up or not, which is fair. I get it. They're analysts, but a lot of them don't have a lot of foundational knowledge to underpin their analysis. And that's why there was a mismatch on Palantir, and that's why a lot of retail investors were able to understand it. Palantir 44.97 on the day, 44.90 after hours. Robinhood 27.88 on the day, up 3%, 27.90 after hours. Tesla is slightly down, 261, down about 0.38%. Seems like that headline about insiders selling stock was the reason. Otherwise, it was just general profit taking that people had. And then the S&P right here at 580, NVIDIA as well, 140.52, down about 0.72% on the day. PayPal got an upgrade. PayPal after hours is up 1.6%, 84.94. So that's basically 78 to almost 85 over the past 2 weeks, which is pretty damn incredible for PayPal. Yeah, look at that. It looks like that upgrade is helping them after hours right here. 85.99. It touched after hours right now at 84.70 on PayPal. The podcast will be out like 6 p.m. Eastern, so like in an hour, basically. Once this show is done, you guys get a little bit of a break from me, and then you'll get a little notification saying, hey, Amit uploaded a video, and then you'll get right back to me. So in an hour, you guys will see that one. Yeah, so 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So like 3 p.m. Pacific. Oh, it's not going to be live. Sorry, if you guys are being confused, it's not live. It's already pre-recorded. It'll be uploaded. So don't worry about coming in live. It'll be uploaded, and then you can watch it wherever you want. Amit, have you got ontology tattooed somewhere? No, I haven't yet. I might need to. But before I do that, I need to find these damn waste management earnings. How do we not have their numbers yet? This is, I guess we'll wait till 5. We got 5 minutes left till 5 o'clock. I would imagine it has to come out at 5 o'clock. I've never seen an earnings been delayed all the way past 5 o'clock. So in about 5 minutes, we'll see what it looks like. Did you see the ghost candle to 300 on Tesla? Yeah, I saw that. That was just right after hours just now, right? A lot of times this randomly pops up. There's been a lot of these companies that have had these weird ghost candles, and they just kind of disappear, but then they show up and then they leave. Tesla also had another one to 276 in the pre-markets, and that one then went away as well. Amit, what time is the market open? I assume way earlier for SoFi PayPal earnings. Yeah, so I'll be live on this channel. The reason I'm not streaming with the other guys is because I have to do a whole market open, whereas Tanner's stream is just like the SoFi stream. So even after SoFi, I still have to like do the market open. So I kind of have to do it on my own channel. Otherwise, I would be doing the market open on Tanner's channel, and he doesn't need my market open because it's his own channel. So I'll be live at like 7:30, and the market open will go all the way up until probably 11 tomorrow, as we get definitely at least until 10:30. So we'll be condensing SoFi, PayPal, all that good stuff. Let's pull up the companies that have earnings tomorrow and take a look at them. So it'll be a big day in the morning. So in the morning, we have McDonald's, Pfizer, PayPal, BP, Royal Caribbean, Crocs, JetBlue, and SoFi. Those are the big ones. And HSBC, that's a big bank. And Phillips 66, that's an oil company. That'll be fine. But these are pretty much the big companies. And then after the close tomorrow, we have Google, which is the biggest one. Visa, that's huge. AMD, that's big. Chipotle, that's an important one. First Solar, Enovix, that's a big one. And Snapchat. So tomorrow's going to be a big day, dude. Tomorrow's going to be a big, big, big day in terms of seeing how this plays out. 7:30 confirmed. Yeah, 7:30 a.m. in the morning. I'll be live. Can you cover Amazon earnings expectations? So I talked about this last night. Amazon, I think, will have a good earnings if their operating margins are above 10%. If not, I think the street's still going to be afraid of Amazon because the retail business is still, losing money, which is not good. So I think AWS will crush. I think advertising will crush. I think the one thing that the market's really concerned about is those operating margins. And I think if those are good, then that'll be good. Google is the one I'm a little bit more afraid of. I think Google should go up because it's trading at 21 times earnings, and you would imagine a little bit of boost if they have any good numbers. But one thing I did see today that Josh Brown brought up is that Google is on track to report its lowest quarterly growth ever. I didn't know that. Now, I think that quarterly growth compared to the PE still will be enough for the algos to be like, okay, there's a mismatch here. However, if the DOJ stuff and the Perplexity stuff on the earnings call is not answered, like if I was an analyst, I would straight up, my question would be very simple. Is Perplexity going to take your lunch? That's it. I wouldn't dance around. I would be like, guys, Perplexity is about to raise $9 billion. What's going on here? Like, why is this unprofitable startup with GPT powered search results actually taking market share? What's happening? And if Sundar does not have a good answer to that question, I think that's where you get a little bit of fear into what happens for Google. Tomorrow is AMD. Yes, tomorrow after the bell, we will have, or sorry, not tomorrow, Wednesday after the bell will be AMD. That will be an important one. Algos, meaning algorithms. Yeah. I think the algos are pricing in a Google beat as excessive given where the stock is trading at on a PE basis. And I don't know how much the algos care about the qualitative stuff around the DOJ and all this stuff. They obviously care about it, but if the numbers are actually that good, we all know Google should not be trading at 21 times PE from a numerical basis. The reason Google is discounted right now is because the street is afraid about slower growth on advertising and the DOJ breaking them up. If they just report amazing numbers, the algos might not care about any of those two concerns. They're going to be like, screw it. The numbers are great. The stock deserves to be at a 30 PE over 21 or something. And then we would see a big run. But again, it's just this is why it's hard to do earnings bets. You just don't know. You really just don't know how it'll play out or, what the numbers they will put up with will be important. So that's what we got going on in the context of Google. Waste management, I think, should be out now. It is 5 p.m. Hopefully we get their earnings. Let's take a little bit more of a deep dive into Google with Josh Brown. We were watching that clip, and I'll try to find Waste Management while we're watching this.
If you look at performance over the last 3 months, Alphabet is the underperformer, and maybe that's why you think the setup is actually good. It's down 0.5% over 3 months, while everything else is up in that space.
Yeah. So just for clarity here, I had taken a much larger position down 150 and cut it back, whatever, a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago. For exact reasons Josh is saying, and not that he's wrong, is that's what's known. So it's known it's going to be extremely slow quarter. It's known Perplexity and others are in search. It's known that maybe Microsoft gets back into meaningful search. They never left it, but not been a factor. That's all there. So where could the surprise come from? Surprise could come from that they're doing not as bad as others say. And by the way, I do think where Josh and I particularly disagree, not in the setup, but that they're not just sitting there. To think that Google is sitting there while others raise billions and are moving ahead of them is just misplaced. It's been a major initiative for them with AI. They are moving forward. I think it was overstated how bad their AI is, and that's the market's term, not mine. I actually think it's a pretty good product, and very few companies have the wherewithal, financial wherewithal, and the engineering talent. Engineers have gone from making $250,000 a year, right, to if you're working on AI, it's $5 million.
Yeah, it's all fine and good, but if they have the prospects of losing search market share and a piece of real estate within the advertising market, which was for all intents and purposes just a duopoly, right, between Alphabet and Meta. And now if you have the Perplexities coming into the game.
Guys, I don't know where Waste Management is. I don't know what's going on, but we might not get it today. Maybe they messed up and it's supposed to be tomorrow. But yeah, I do not have Waste Management. I'll let you guys know if we find it. But so far, it's not after the bell right now.
You do have the chance of loss of market share, however large that may be. Right. The reason why you're willing to pay whatever you're willing to pay for the stock is because you don't think that duopoly is ever going away.
Well, you're paying below a market multiple for what's not going to be bad growth. I'm not saying they will. I do worry about them losing share with AI. That's the great equalizer, right? But it also costs a fortune to build those AI products, number one. Number two, Perplexity is being sued right now for taking data. But forget about all that.
Perplexity they're not building the models, right? They're a wrapper, so to speak. They're not building what OpenAI is building.
No, but they are building the data set. But here's what I'd say, going back to where you started the question. I think for this quarter, long-term issues exist, but I think for this quarter, the setup on Google is better than not.
Okay. Deirdre Bose is here with us at Post 9. It's good to see you, and it's great to have you ahead of what is a pivotal week as you watch this company. The most important thing they have to deliver on is what, in your mind?
Steve and Josh nailed it. It's the core. They cannot show any weakness there because, to both of your guys' points, even though you're on different sides of it, this is the only thing that matters, how vulnerable they are. So if their core business of advertising shows any kind of weakness, I think that investors are going to get really jittery and they're going to think that dominance is being eroded. You mentioned a number of other products. This morning, there was a report in the information that Facebook is now working on a search engine. And I think what generative AI did was light a fire under all of the mega caps and say that they have to ship products quickly because, upstarts like OpenAI and Anthropic, they're not waiting to perfect it. They're shipping it and they're trying to get scale. And I think we've seen Google move faster than I've ever seen them. The question is that fast enough? And are they willing to disrupt their current model? They add advertising to AI overviews below the fold. Like, that is really important for merchants and advertisers. You're no longer one of those 10 blue links. You're a little bit further down. On the other hand, Google has AI for the masses, right? I mean, I personally use a lot of ChatGPT. I don't love Gemini, but the way that
no one likes Gemini, by the way. Gemini sucks. Like, it's just dog shit compared to GPT. So the bull case on Google's AI is that it's the default thing for like people like my mom that are probably not going to buy a ChatGPT subscription. But the bull case is not that it's actually better than GPT, because it's not.
The mainstream is going to interact with AI is through Google. So maybe they just don't have to mess that up and they have to give people.
I don't know if that's so true.
Useful.
Go ahead.
So this is the issue. Deirdre is right. Google has been the mainstream way that people interact with Web 2.0 really since the beginning. I don't know if that will remain true, and that's why I trim my position. I think Google at 21 forward earnings is correctly discounting all of these competitive threats and these issues, but that might not be cheap enough for the rest of the street, and that's my concern. You have to keep in mind that today,
get their AI, Josh? I'm talking. People aren't going to go. The average person, your mom, your aunt, is not going to go sign up for and pay for a GPT subscription for $20 a month. They're going to kind of stumble on it.
You're right.
Google, maybe a Meta.
No, it's Apple. Listen, this is what I'm trying to say. Today, Apple just released its Apple Intelligence. So you have to go into settings if you have the 15 or 16, and you have to tell it you want it. It downloads this gigantic file, and it's not all the features yet. But the future, if it involves less time staring at a screen, is going to involve more conversational versions of search. Google just lost an antitrust case over the summer. They paid $22 billion to Apple last year to be the default search engine on iOS devices. There's an open question if they'll keep that. Now you have all these other fronts they're fighting on. They're going to report YouTube advertising at the slowest growth rate in years. And that's in a best case scenario this week. They're competing with Amazon's third-party ad platform, which went from 0 to number 3 in 2 years. And they're now competing with Netflix ad-supported on the YouTube platform. So they're fighting on that front as well. The best thing happening at Google is cloud sales should be close to 30% year-over-year growth. All of the rest of their businesses are growing low teens percentages, looking like they might even go to single-digit growth rates. And as a result, you've got a discount in Google's valuation relative to the rest of the group. As a long, I'm saying I want less risk here. I hope Weiss is right and the company is able to surprise to the upside. I'll be fine. I just don't want to be as heavy as I was yesterday.
I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. And I think that's the kind of predominant view you have right now on Google, which is a lot of people might still believe in the thesis, but they want clarity. And that's the point of investing, right? Because you got to be able to buy it right now while it's cheap. If it is cheap, if the clarity is going to be that Perplexity is not taking their lunch and the DOJ is not going to mess them up. Because if you get that clarity, it'll come with a price, and the price might be at 180, 190. So that is what makes a market at the end of the day. But I don't know, dude. Here's the question for the chat. Let's end it on this. If you bought Google today, do you think you could sleep well at night? Buying single stocks already is so you got to have some guts to really buy a single stock and trust that your money's going to be okay. If you bought Google today at 160, would you sleep well at night over the next few months? Zero concern type of fear, or would you be jittering a little bit if some headline comes out and you would get scared about what happened with Google? Okay, someone says no, that's why I sold it. Google sucks, bad experience with their products. Mr. Derek Wall says no. I mean, look, Derek's another, Derek's in the startup world right now. He's building a new startup. He's using ChatGPT every single day for a lot of his productivity. A bunch of you guys are saying yes, I'm sleeping well. June says yes. PK says yes. John says yes. Okay, so here's the question. For those that say no, give me the one sentence why you say no. For those that say yes, what's your one sentence, 1 or 2 words for why the answer is yes? I'll do both. If I said no, my answer would be Perplexity. That's it. And Perplexity is a metaphor for search market monopolization decreasing, which is 85% of their profits. That is what would be my fear for Google. If I would say yes, my thesis would be that Google is integrated into everyone's life and they will find a way to make AI monetizable, whether through Gmail, YouTube, whatever it is, in a way that doesn't commoditize their 10 blue links business, but in a way that transforms the 10 blue links business. Now, notice the no thesis is way simpler than the yes thesis. And that's why it's hard for me to reconcile getting Google right now. Julie says, I would be fine holding Google, but it's not going to be anywhere for a while. So you might turn into a bag holder. That's fair. Star Buccaneer says no because Sundar is in charge. Okay, that's another easy way to make an argument for the no. Gene said I sold it. I own Google too. Dude, I owned Google at 138 and I sold it at 149. And then it ran up all the way to almost 200. So I was like, all right, I guess I messed up on that. But now, and the reason I sold it again, I sold it a little bit too prematurely, but I sold it because I started to get these jitters sleeping at night again about like, dude, is this search business like actually going to be intact? Because I'm not even using this shit as much as I was before. So like if I'm not using it, eventually it'll catch on, right? And that's why I sold it. But you know, maybe those jitters are wrong and maybe they will maintain market share. Casey says yes because of YouTube and Android. So okay, so if you're going to say yes based on other parts of the thesis, the only pushback I have there is, does that overcompensate for the search business potentially going down? Remember, 85% of their current profits of their net income is search. It's not cloud. It's not YouTube. It's not Android. It's definitely not Waymo. It's 10 blue links search. So can the other parts of the business overcompensate for that? I don't know. And that's another reason I get scared when I think about Google. YouTube's amazing. YouTube's not going anywhere. YouTube's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But again, YouTube doesn't, in my opinion, make that much money. They don't disclose the metrics, but I don't think YouTube makes a lot of money for them. It makes a lot of revenue in terms of net income. The cost to operate all this video uploaded every single minute is a lot. It's not easy. And then you're paying the content creators 55% as well. So like the actual margin of net income they make on YouTube, I think is minuscule compared to their search business where, you know, there's just not that many costs on that business. I sleep better holding Google than Palantir. LOL. I'm both a long-term holder on both stock. Okay, that's fair, especially if you have a low average on Google. If Sundar resigns, I will buy more. I've heard a lot of people say this many times. Waste Management's third quarter call will be at 10 a.m. So that's correct. It is at 10 a.m. However, I think they messed up on the press release. The press release from September 25th, 2024 says after the close on October 28th, Monday, which is today, they will release earnings. It looks like they messed up on that. Maybe that was a typo. Maybe it's in the pre-markets tomorrow instead of today. Google went down when ChatGPT was rolled out and then recovered. Yeah, that was a little bit of a different time when Google went down after ChatGPT came out. Now it seems like we're seeing the bigger impacts of ChatGPT. I would own Google over Nike. Ackman sold Google to buy Nike. Probably going to regret it if not already. That one I still don't understand why the hell he sold Google for Nike. I think his average was like $90. So he's already up almost 80% on that. Buying, I think Nike at 75. It's at like 82 right now. So he's up on Nike, but like, it's Nike, bro. It's like Google versus Nike. I would buy Google over Nike any day, even at these prices. So that one was weird. And that also makes me think, does Ackman have some research about Google where he's getting a little scared, or is he just taking profits and reallocating? Because again, Ackman doesn't have a lot of positions. He has like 7 or 8 positions at most at a time. So when he makes a big change, that's something that people look at as well. We went from Google it to Ask ChatGPT. Yeah, I think a lot of people started using. I mean, dude, I use ChatGPT today on a. So I have something special coming out for you guys in like the next 2 weeks. It's a special interview. You guys are gonna enjoy it. And I use ChatGPT to help me prepare for the interview today. And dude, I was just like, this is worth more than $20 a month. Like the level of efficiency I was able to get from using ChatGPT today. I mean, it took a 2-hour task probably into 20 minutes, maybe even less than 20 minutes, to be honest. And it just made it so easy for me to like go through my day and move on to my next task and, you know, send everything I needed to send to the right people and keep going forward. So it's just one of those things, dude, where it's like, productivity is going to go higher and people are going to love that experience and keep coming back most likely. Steve says, my concern about Google is that it's a runner up in every category I can think of. I don't know if it can succeed long-term. It's not a dominant number one in any categories except search. And I think the market's afraid that if search is the only category it's number one in, that eventually that could go down. Is it an interview with your mom? No, it's not an interview with my mom. It's an interview with someone you guys are going to like. You guys are going to enjoy this one. It's, I would say it's a pretty big name, in my opinion. I think we were trying to do it in person, but unfortunately we couldn't do it in person. So we're doing it over Zoom, but I think you guys will like it. I don't know when it's going to, I think it comes out next Thursday or maybe this Thursday. I have to get the details on when it can be released, but it'll be out soon. It's not Alex Karp. No, it's not Elon Musk. It's not Elon Musk yet. I think eventually we'll get Elon, but it's not Elon yet. But ChatGPT is not for news. Why compare it to search? So here's the thing. That's a good point. Like when you go to Google and you type in food near me, that gives you all these like search results for food near you. Or when you try to find articles on something new, it gives you search results on articles. the thing is, if the paradigm switches to where people are not searching for news, but they're searching for AI generated summaries around news events, or ChatGPT just incorporates showing you some links on news sources, which they're already doing to an extent, or Perplexity, which shows a ton of sources, which at the end of the day pays OpenAI a ton of money to use their GPT models. Like, there's just going to be way more accurate and realistic ways to find out about what's happening in the world versus Google. Now, that's not going to disappear for Google overnight with 8.5 billion queries a day. That's not leaving anytime soon. But the market's forward-looking. And if they're forward-looking enough to think that it's going to go away eventually, then they'll sell off the stock, currently in the future. It's not Trump, bro. You think I got Trump on the show? Dude, that would be crazy. It's not Donald Trump. That would be wild. It's not Tom Lee. It's not Donald Trump. That'd be wild if I got Trump on the show, dude. That'd be crazy. But no, it's not Trump. Speaking of Trump, DJT, look at this sucker. Up 21%, up another 4% right now. This is the market buying up DJT and saying that they think Trump's going to win. I think that's what's happening right now. And they could be wrong, but I think that's the market's reaction to it right now as DJT does go higher. NVIDIA right here at 140, Robinhood 27.92 after hours. Where is Palantir? Palantir 44.85, 44.97 on the day, and then this S&P 500 here at 580.95 after hours. All right, that's it. That is it for me on the market close. Is it someone from Robinhood? No, it's not someone from Robinhood. It's someone you guys know very well, and you guys will enjoy it. I can't say the name, but you guys will enjoy it. But it's no one from Robinhood. But yeah, I'll be live tomorrow, 8:45. We'll find out eventually if these waste management earnings ever come out. Maybe they're coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be very important. I'll be live actually at 7:30. So we have SoFi, PayPal in the morning. And then after the bell, we have Google, AMD, and Visa. So big companies. We also have McDonald's in the morning, BP in the morning, Pfizer in the morning, and Royal Caribbean and JetBlue in the morning. So tomorrow's going to be a very, very big day. A lot of stuff to discuss. We have Phillips 66 as well. And then we have Crocs. So just a bunch of names tomorrow morning, SoFi being the biggest one. I think SoFi should do okay. And we will see if the shorts feel like they want to cover. It's not Kamala Harris either. Dude, it's no one political. It's someone in the technology space, someone who is a big executive at a tech company. And you guys will see it. I hate to tease it, but I literally can't say it, but you guys will enjoy it. The point of me bringing that up was to say ChatGPT helped me condense a lot of information for the interview. And so, again, it's just adding to the overall productivity. All right, that is it. Thank you, everybody. We will be back. It's not Jensen Huang yet. One day, we're not there with Jensen. Amit, are they American? Yes, they are indeed American. It'll be fun. You guys will enjoy it. It'll be a good one. So, all right, that's it. Live tomorrow. Big deal tomorrow. We got SoFi earnings, PayPal, got a lot to run through. And then after the bell tomorrow, we have Google. And in 45 minutes, I'll have that podcast coming out. 20 minutes, not too long. It'll be a good listen of a sophomore in Berkeley who's using Palantir to build data projects and platforms. And it'll give you a little bit more of a developer's insider feel on using Palantir. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate. Oh, wait, real quick. Speaking of Vlad, it's not Vlad, by the way. The interview is not Vlad. But let me just show you this tweet real quick. I just retweeted this tweet from our boy Vlad. It just makes you so happy to see someone executing. There are decades when nothing happens, and then there are weeks where decades happen, introducing the presidential election market on Robinhood. That man, Vlad, is executing at a level that I don't think we've seen in a long time. And he's fucking working. He is absolutely working. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the Market Open. Bye, everyone.